This is Cody, and you are tuned to B-Boy 45 here at broadcasting from the Seacrest Studios here at Children's Hospital, Colorado. And we've got another special edition of the latest news to keep you in the groove with Maya. Maya, why is this such a special edition?
Because Jesse Eisenberg is calling in.
Jesse Eisenberg, how are you?
Good. Thanks a lot for having me on your show.
Well, Maya, take it away.
Okay, well, first, before I get to any of my questions, I just want to tell you that I can't believe I'm talking to you right now. You're one of my favorite actors, and it's been a dream of mine to interview you. So I can't believe this is happening right now.
Thank you so much, Maya. It is a joy for me to speak with you as well.
Also, I really appreciate how open you've been about your anxiety and OCD, because that's something that I struggle with, and I know that other patients at the hospital do too.
Oh, I'm sure. And if you have any questions about it or anything, I'm happy to talk about it. I'm open with it, but it's also kind of impossible to hide.
Yeah. So my first question for you is, who or what inspired you to start acting?
I started acting when I was young because I was doing children's theater with my older sister, and we were doing theater on Saturdays, for a few months of the year. We would go in every Saturday and, paint the sets, and it was all just children. And I liked it. And then kind of was a strange situation for me, which is just that I had some troubles in school. And so I decided that if I can act, it would give me kind of like a way out of school. So I wanted to just, if not even like a literal way out, just like a emotional way out, just to have something else going on in my life was kind of comforting.
Cool. Yeah, so you have two new movies out, Vivarium and Resistance. Mm-hmm. What drew you to those projects?
Well, the movie you mentioned, Resistance, is a story that takes place during World War II, and I play a character, Marcel Marceau, who is a real person who became the most famous mime in the world. And during the war, he was saving Jewish kids from the Nazis. I loved it because I could relate to it in so many ways. I mean, I lost family in the same way during the war. And I'm an artist like Marceau who is constantly trying to figure out how one can use their arts to help other people. My wife is a teacher for children who can't afford arts programming in New York. And so she brings arts to the most needful children in New York. And so I'm constantly thinking how I can be an artist that can also do good. And so I really loved that movie, Resistance, that is. Vivarium, the other one you mentioned, is a very strange, surreal movie about a couple that gets stuck in this suburban nightmare and can't get out of this house that they're trying to buy. It's a very unusual, surreal movie, and I just loved it because I'd never done anything like that before, and I studied surreal cinema in college when I was in college, and I just thought it was an unusual experience, and the movie is really great and very unique.
Cool. So I love the Zombieland movies. They're so funny. What was the best part of that experience?
Well, the first movie that we did was 10 years ago, and I was 25, and it was the first time I was in a kind of big comedic movie. And what I was mainly surprised by was that the little jokes that I thought were funny, just in my head, the director also thought it was okay to say them. It just seemed like I could think of the most unusual thing and I could say it in the movie, and then it would be in a movie, and then people would laugh. And that was the biggest surprise for me, and my favorite part of it. The other part that I loved was working with the other actors who are just really great, very funny people who are also very good actors, and it kind of taught me that you can be a very good actor and also be funny, that those two things don't have to be so separated. And as you know from watching them, Emma Stone and Woody Harrelson and Abigail Breslin are all like very funny people who also are very good dramatic actors. And so I kind of felt like I was inspired by them.
Oh, cool. So you've done so many amazing things. You were in the Now You See Me movies, which I love. The Adventureland, which I love. I'm just gonna like save you the time and just say I love everything you've done.
Okay, thank you.
And so like The Social Network and 30 Minutes or Less, and The Art of Self-Defense, and so many more things. Have you had a favorite project or character you played?
Well, out of the ones you just mentioned, the one I probably liked performing the most was this movie, The Art of Self-Defense. It is a very strange comedy about a very meek man who wants to take karate to defend himself. And the karate class he enters is like a kind of cult almost. It's a very unusual movie. I would not recommend it to children. But I loved, even though my character is a very sweet character, some of the movie is scary and inappropriate and offensive in so many different ways. But I loved playing the part because he was such a sweet person, this character. He's a very sweet man who wants to be a good person, but is so terrified of the world that he's almost speechless. And I feel, on the one hand, I could relate to it because I probably feel similarly in a lot of ways. But on the other hand, it was such an unusual character and an unusual way of performing because he does not really live in the real world. And he speaks like somebody who doesn't live in the real world, that it was a really enjoyable and a new experience for me.
Cool. So what song would be on the soundtrack to your life?
Oh, wow. Geez, I hope it's a very long song, like a minuet or something, or a so that, because that would mean there was a lot to discuss there, I guess. But I don't really know. Do you have a song that applies to your life?
Oh, that's hard. I think one of them would definitely have to be Rain by Ben Platt.
Yeah. The lyrics speak to you or something? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. Geez. Well, I don't know. I haven't really given it a lot of thought, so maybe I'll co-opt your answer. But I haven't listened to that song. Maybe I'll listen to it. If it doesn't apply, I'll get back to you. But so far, it sounds as good as anything else.
That sounds fair.
Thanks a lot.
So what is your biggest pet peeve?
Gee whiz, I don't know. My dad used to tell me that, to be bothered by, to have some kind of like ethical judgment on other people is in itself unethical. So I try not to really judge people too much and what they do. Of course, we're all walking around now wanting to see that everybody's wearing a mask or, keeping their distance from us because we're in this pandemic. I'm trying not to judge them because who knows what is behind somebody's behavior, and maybe they have great intentions and for whatever reason can't, do the thing you're hoping that they're doing. But, what is my favorite pet peeve? Injustice, I suppose. When I was a little kid, I was infuriated by injustice to the point where there was if somebody was getting picked on a playground, it would torment me, even if I wasn't the one getting picked on. I don't know why. Not that I'm a hero, because I oftentimes didn't do much about it, but it just tears me apart. My mom would tell me, there was some question on a test when I was in second grade, when I was 7 years old, that was like sexist or something. And I probably just didn't know the answer to the question, but I went up to the teacher and I said, this question is so sexist. So I don't know. I maybe have like a right sense of righteousness. Maybe it's not always an asset, but yeah. And my wife is even more than I am, I would say, a sense of injustice, and she is more active and does more about it. But I would say that's maybe a pet peeve, although that sounds more like I'm trying to describe a virtue rather than a pet peeve, which is maybe a cop out of an answer. But,
No, I think that's a good way to describe a pet peeve. It's something that bugs you, and it does bug you when things aren't fair. I think a lot of kids and a lot of people have that feeling, so.
Yeah, I suppose so. I was just trying to think of an answer that would be a more, I don't know, what is like a normal answer you get on the pet peeve question?
Some like random things.
It's
all over the place. So
yeah, I wanted to give you a thing like pancakes or something easy, but I couldn't think of anything besides that long-winded answer.
Do you like pancakes?
I like it.
Yeah, I do. I was just trying to think of some random thing
just
that would be a good answer. Yeah, of course. I'm a human being. Come on. Yeah.
But I agree with that. I like in like school, if for English we read a book, I will say that like if a character was sexist, I would be like, I hated this book because of this character, and
yeah, this is how I feel. I kind of of course I get irrationally angry. Yeah.
So you're an active volunteer for a lot of different causes. What is your biggest passion project?
I really do like helping when there are those in need. I am in my car because I'm just driving away from I'm like been painting at a domestic violence shelter all day. Where's the purple paint, which is the color of domestic violence? Is on my wrist somewhere. I got paint all over my pants, and I like being useful and helping. We're at a time right now which is very unusual, where I think a lot of people who want to be helpful can't, because it would make the situation worse. Because so many people are in need, and people that are really helpful are feeling totally useless. My wife works with, scores of students in New York, and she can't see them, so she's trying to Zoom call with them, and and she has kids who she mentors and stuff. And I see her; it's just incredibly frustrating for her to not be with them. And so we found a way to kind of volunteer at the shelter that's in the town where we are, and in a way that's safe because we're kind of alone. We're painting. I don't know. Even that sometimes doesn't feel like enough, because it feels like, well, I'm not a great painter. I want to, what can we do? So I don't know, but anyway, yeah, I guess that's a passion of mine, or really a passion of my wife's that I inherited.
Oh, cool. So you've written plays and a book. Where do you find inspiration to write and create these stories?
Well, the plays that I've written have all been kind of inspired by my own, like, kind of ignorance and things. Like, my plays are kind of all about a character that's, like, kind of based on, like, a bad version of me in conflict or in a relationship with somebody who I usually am basing on a real person who's like what I think usually is like a better person. And I have a lot of like ignorance, but I'm also quite self-aware. So I'm like self-aware enough to kind of be able to laugh at my own stupidity. And then that's kind of what the plays are about in a way. My book is kind of collection of like humor pieces, which are a bit self-deprecating and deprecating of other people as well. And I don't know, I have enough like kind of good things in my life to not feel like laughing at myself would do that much damage. And I'm not, I would say, like bright enough to be a perfect person anyway.
Cool. So what terrible movie do you secretly love?
Oh, well, it's not a terrible movie. It's a good movie. But when I was young, I wanted to start writing comedies. And it was at the same time as this movie, Along Came Polly, came out. And again, it's not a bad movie. It's a good movie. But I thought it was like the best movie ever made. It's not. I mean, I know the director and the writer who made it. He's a really smart guy, and he's a great, really funny writer, and a great director. But I thought at the time it was like the greatest movie ever made, because I was kind of trying to like write stuff like it. And right now I still think it's a good movie, but I don't think it's like the best movie ever made. I don't think he would say that either, the guy who made it, that is. And I managed to get the script of it, and then I went to all the locations in New York where it was filmed, and I even secretly saw the director at one of those locations just coincidentally, because it was a pizza place in New York. And I became, like, I would say, strangely obsessed with it. And then last week, for the first time, I had a meeting on Zoom with this producer, Michael Schamberg, who's like a producer of a lot of great movies, including Along Came Polly. And I told him that I had this obsession with his movie, which is now 15 years old or something. And he said, he had to go to the hospital in that movie because he was an extra in the movie. He was producing it, but he was also an extra. And one of the actors like improvised, like grabbing him in the scene and like threw his neck out or something. So I got to have a little bit of, strange. But anyway, it was good for me to get a little behind the scenes taste of this movie, which, I still think is great, but also not the best movie ever made. Can I ask you your opinion? What is your movie?
It's called Ishtar.
Yeah, this is like a famously disastrous movie, right?
Yeah, but it's one of my favorite movies.
Would you recommend it to me then?
I would, because I think it's my family and I, we love that. Like my mom and my sister and I, we think it's one of the best movies ever made. So.
And you're not watching it sarcastically, laughing at it?
No,
you're actually enjoying it.
At it because it's so funny.
Okay, I am curious. You think if a movie is like has that much attention for being, bad, then it's worth watching. It's not going to be boring. Yeah.
So what book or you? Sorry, I lost my.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Oh no, it's not your.
No, I threw you off with the Ishtar question. Sorry.
Okay. So, what book or play has had a big impact on your life?
Well, when I was young, I read this book that I think probably for a lot of young people has an impact, especially if you're Jewish, because it's written by a guy who was in a concentration camp, a Jewish guy named Viktor Frankl. The book is called Man's Search for Meaning. And I liked it because, as a young Jewish man, I was like and still am, but especially when I was younger, was like very interested in the Holocaust and what it meant for my family. It was there, it was in Poland during that time and died, in the Holocaust. And then reading this book, which was kind of this very hopeful book about how if you have meaning in your life, it can get you through a lot of really tragic situations. And since I read that book, I haven't read it in 15 years, but since I read that book, I kind of like try to look for meaning in different situations. And sometimes, if you're in kind of a situation that is boring or even worse than boring, if you're in a situation that's traumatizing or tragic, if you can find some meaning in it, and oftentimes it's very difficult, especially, I know you've been through a lot, if you can find some meaning, it will help you get through it more than you'd expect.
Yeah. So my last question for you is, who do you consider to be a real life superhero and why?
Well, I am embarrassed to bring up my wife again, but I will because, she's she I would say wakes up every morning and asks herself, what can I do today to help those most in need? And I'm not talking about for work. I mean, 7 days a week. I mean, she spends 7 days a week asking herself that question. And what I like about it is that it seems like is that it's very practical. She tries to figure out who is the most in need and what can she do the best to help them. So that means, on the weekends we are delivering food not only to people who are in need, but on behalf of a woman who started like a no-hate farmers market because she was targeted by neo-Nazis here in town. And like, it sounds like one, a litany of kind of charitable things. But my wife has kind of like engineered this, like her life to like help those most in need. And I kind of go along for the ride because it's not my instinct when I wake up in the morning. And so, yeah, she's like, I would say a superhero just because I know her so well and I've seen it happen on a daily basis. And also what I've discovered is there are a lot of other people who do the same thing. Some people aren't in the same situation as my wife is to be able to help so many people. But, I see people do it in different ways.
Cool. Oh, I love that answer.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Well, so thank you so much for calling in. I still can't believe I'm talking to you. Like I said, this has been a dream of mine. So thank you so much.
Well, Maya, thank you so much for asking me to be on your show. You're a great interviewer and you're a cool person. And I really appreciate you asking me to come on.
Thank you.
I wish you the best. And it's great to meet you.
You too.